welcome to our Movement Monday series, Pilates, Chair Pilates for MS. This is MS Views and News. My name is Bri Rhea, and I just want to say thank you so much for coming to class, you guys, taking the time for yourself and taking care of yourself. So I want to make sure that we are starting off right with the breath. Okay, so just as those of us who've logged on a little earlier, we understand that the deep core is very important to give us the support of our spine, to help us sit up tall, to help us stand tall, to help us walk and run and move with great posture. Okay, so it takes a little bit of awareness to understand how to breathe. And you're probably like, well, I already know how to breathe. Like, I already understand. I've been doing this my whole life. But when it comes to Pilates breathing, it does take a little bit more awareness. So I want you to bring your hands to your rib cage, right here on the sides of your rib cage. Like you're like, I want to talk to your manager, but you just like missed a couple inches. Okay. So take an inhale in through the nose and feel how your ribs move out. And then exhale out through the mouth. And feel how the ribs move in. Inhale, breathe in. And exhale. Breathe out. Okay. Now continue with the same breath. And if you want to, maybe remove the hands and see or feel if you can notice that same amount of movement happening. Okay. So this is like our ribs breathing in and out, the deep, deep breath that it takes to be able to fill up lower into the abdominal or the thoracic cavity. Okay. So then after that, I want you to place one hand on your belly and then one hand on your heart. Okay. Then breathe in to the belly hand first. And then exhale. Try to pull it in. Inhale. Try to move that belly hand away from you. And then exhale, try to pull it in. And then continue with that same breath. Trying not to move the chest hand just yet. Okay, now try to move the belly hand and the chest hand. And so this deep breathing that you're doing, where both hands move away and towards the midline of the body, okay, out and away, in and towards the midline of the body, is that contraction of and engagement of the deep core. Okay, so of course the core isn't directly correlated with the chest, but the chest muscles help with breath. Okay, so that's just a great acknowledgement of that. All right, so we're about 5 minutes into starting the class. So at this point, if you see me coming back and forth, it's probably just because I just feel bad. And I'm just like, let's enjoy everyone in the class. Let's move together. Okay. So grab your pillow and remember what we just did with the breath work. Okay. So I want you to put that pillow between the legs to start. So give it a nice soft squeeze and hug. And then the feet are going to be about hip distance apart and underneath of the knees. Okay. So you've got a 90-degree bend at the knees. Your knees are right in front of the hips, your hip distance apart, and that pillow has gotten a pretty good squeeze on it, or if you're using that ball, okay? And just let the hands rest down by the side. Now continue with that breath and inhale, open the knees. Exhale, close and squeeze the knees. Inhale, allow the knees to open. And exhale, pull the knees together. Okay, so now as this is happening, there's another component of the deep core that I want you guys to focus on. And it's not something that can really, where you can put your hand, you could if you wanted to, but it's not something that can really be felt unless you can feel up inside of you. And that's called your pelvic floor. So continue with that same breath as you squeeze in and as you inhale, open, exhale to squeeze, inhale to open. And so the deepest part of your core is called the pelvic floor. And it's a set of muscles that rest right between the legs and underneath of all of the organs that are being held in your belly space, in your abdominal cavity. Okay, so imagine that like what you're sitting on right now, your chair, that you can pull the pelvic floor up, like you're popping off a plug out from the bathtub. Okay. So as you're squeezing, try to lift that pelvic floor up and in. And then as you're inhaling, allow it to drop. As you're exhaling, allow it to lift. And as you're inhaling, allow it to drop, okay? So if you did want to try to palpate it, what you could do is you could literally just like sit on your hand. I know it sounds silly, but you can feel the muscles lightly, very lightly, kind of pulling up and inside of you. Now, these are important set of muscles, okay? And the reason why they are important is because as we get older, if we're not working these muscles, they start to atrophy, or they start to get weaker, okay? And what these muscles help us with when we are moving them through the full range of motion is they help to keep us from peeing ourselves, from urinating, or from even like pooping ourselves. Everyone, like we've got a urethra and we've got a butthole. So let's just talk about what everyone has at this point. No need to get embarrassed about it. So as you're practicing these lifts of pelvic floor lifts, I want you to think about lifting your butthole, okay? And I know everyone always gets a little giggly when we talk about this, okay? But it's natural, okay? It's natural for you to have a butthole, and it's naturally for you to control the lift and the lower of it. Now, I want you to lift the heels as you squeeze the knees in, okay? So as you're lifting and lowering, let's just make sure we can see the feet. So as you're squeezing, then you're lifting the heels up, just like you're lifting the pelvic floor up, and then lowering back down. Exhale and squeeze, lift, and then inhale, lower back down. And then continue with that same pattern, okay? And we're staying here during these movements to just really connect with the body, connect with the breath pattern, because I know it's a lot to think about. Pilates can sometimes feel like it's got a pretty steep learning curve. So I just want to make sure that everyone is all good and ready to go, okay? So then after those heel lifts, you're going to inhale, open, relax everything. And as you exhale, I want you to pull the knees together, but lift the toes up, okay? So from the side, lift the toes up. And then lower the toes down, open the knees, and then close the knees, lift the toes. If you have any trouble lifting the toes, what you can do is gently walk the feet away from you and continue with that same open, close, lift the toes, lift the pelvic floor, lower, open, close, and lift, okay? So now while all this is happening, you might notice that like because of the core engagement that you're focusing on, maybe the shoulders are dropped down, maybe your spine feels like it's getting a little longer. Your posture will be different than like the next person who's also on this video, okay? Or if you're watching the recording, okay, you might notice if your posture feels or looks different from one day to the next. And that's because we do different things throughout our day. Our posture will never be like military posture the entire time. We want to make sure that what feels good for our body during our movement feels good for us throughout our entire day, okay? So now let's just take the pillow on top of the lap for now, and then start with your right ankle, just give it a couple of rolls around just to warm up that joint space in one direction and then switch. All right. So at this point, you won't see me coming back and forth between the camera. Sorry if that's a little distraction. And then switch to the other side. So left ankle, moving around. And then switch directions. So this pillow, all it's doing during this class for today is just going to give us some feedback of like the pressure that we can put into it. So now with that pillow that's resting onto our lap, I want you to just rest the hands closer towards the thighs there, so your elbows are next to the rib cage. And then just press down into that pillow. Lift the hands back up and then exhale, press into the pillow, okay? Like you're just flattening and getting ready to like smooth it all out, okay? Flatten and press, exhale. And now can you do this? Remember, we want to move from the core. Can you imagine pressing down through your hands through the core? Inhale, lift, and exhale, press. Think about lifting that pelvic floor up and then lowering down. We'll do a couple more there, okay? So you should be feeling this in the back of the arms. That's called a tricep extension when we extend the arms long, okay? And we want to make sure that when we press the arms down that we don't lift the shoulders up by the ears, Okay, keep the shoulders set down the back and all of that strength and movement coming from, or the stability, sorry, coming from the back of the body. Again, helping with posture. Okay, and now working with hands and legs, I want you to try to hold that pillow down. Okay, hold it down, you're holding it smooth, and then start to lift one heel and then the other. Okay, so now that pillow is starting to tilt to one side and then to the other. Just like one of those like little marble games, like when you're trying to get the marble into the hole is off on this side, try to roll the marble to one side and then to the other. Okay, so it's a strong pressure through the hands as you are heel lifting. Okay, so we're just adding back to the movement that we practiced before, that we got those ankles warmed up with. Okay, and at this point, just try to breathe normally here. So you don't have to like hyperventilate, but you want to prance the heels out to where you're moving a little bit faster, to where you feel like a calf burn towards the end of this, or maybe even a tricep burn. Okay. Alrighty. And now from there, we're going to take that pillow onto the thighs, but then step the legs wide. So you're just going to hold the pillow between the hands, elbows out to the side, and step as wide as you can. So you might even start to feel a nice little stretch onto the inner thighs. So then what you're going to do is notice how when you relax the legs, the knees kind of cave in towards each other, okay? Don't allow it to completely cave in like this is happening here. That we don't want to put any strain or tension onto the knees. But just about like 1 or 2 inches as you inhale, and then as you exhale, pull the knees apart. Inhale, allow the knees to come in, and then exhale, pull the knees apart. Okay. Now this pillow that you're like awkwardly holding in front of your chest, each time you exhale and pull the knees apart, I want you to squish and press that pillow in. Inhale, relax the arms. Exhale, push. Inhale, relax. And then exhale, push. Okay. Now, as we start to get more complicated with these moves, I want you to try to understand that what we're doing is we're also challenging the brain, the neural connections. Okay, so when it comes to neural connections, the body can do what's called neurogenesis, or the new connections that our body can create from mind to muscles. Okay, so if these are new moves that you have never ever done before, you're creating new neural connections. That means that like where the nerve is going down and connecting to your butt, where you probably feel those knees pulling out against, and you're like, I've never done this before, ever before in my life, then it's like that nerve has to find a new pathway to get to the butt, okay, for it to like open those knees apart. Okay, and the more consistent you are with your practice, whether that's Pilates or just movement in general, then the more that pathway of brain to body will start to like carve its way out. Okay, so now I want you to try to pull those knees apart, hold that pillow nice and firm between the hands, and now we rotate. As you exhale to one side, inhale forward, and exhale, rotate to the other side. If your wrists are feeling like not good holding onto this pillow, what you can do is create some fists and then squish that pillow between your fists, like you're trying to knuckle bump yourself between that pillow. Okay, so we've got plenty of options here. There's always options, there's always modifications. And that's why we came up with this Pilates series for MS, because Pilates is meant for everybody. Okay, everybody has a body, so everybody can do Pilates. As you're exhaling to twist, remember, kind of keep those knees apart. And we want to think of our spine as being like the carousel. Yes, the body is the carousel. The spine is the pole in the middle of your carousel. So we want to make sure that we're not like leaning over to the side. That would be a really scary carousel. Okay, we want to keep everything upright and rotating around. Exhale as you twist. Let's do one more to the right and one more to the left. All right, and then walk those legs back together. Ooh, a little bit of a booty burn back there. And then with the wrists here, go ahead and roll them around. Maybe like you just got your nails done. You're like, girl, look at them. Okay, or maybe you've got your ring and somebody just proposed and you're like, look at it. So whichever kind of wrist rolls you want to do, you could also interlace the fingers and roll them around in one direction. Yeah, and let this be like a freestyle. We're just like opening up the joints here. Maybe it feels good to like move the body or think of it as like an eel kind of moving through the water. All right, so now go ahead and hold the hands down by your side. Palms are forward, thumbs are out. And start to bend the elbows and bring the thumbs as close to the shoulders as you can get them. Maybe you can touch, maybe not. That's okay. And then stretch back out again. Bend and stretch. Inhale and exhale. So now while we're doing this, you're probably like, but I don't know if I feel how the core would help this. Can you keep and maintain the stability of your deep core? So remember that the transverse abdominis, the muscle that wraps around like a corset, okay, is the same kind of feeling like a corset is tightening or like a belt is wrapping around your waistline. Your pelvic floor is lifting up away from your seat, okay? And then your spine is trying to stay nice and tall because the multifidus muscles along the spine that come up like a track line or train tracks are helping you to lift up. Okay, so now hold the hands right next to the shoulders here and then reach up overhead. Pull it back down and raise the roof. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Okay. And now move at your pace. So if your inhales and exhales are moving a little slower than me, that's fine. Okay. You go at your pace. But now let's bring your attention to your feet. If this is starting to feel too complicated, just stay with the arms. Okay. I want you to, as you press the hands up, lift the heels up, then lower back down. Okay. It's like you're trying to bring the pillow up closer towards you and then lower back down. Lifting and lowering. So as we're going through these sort of combo moves, again, we're just challenging the brain here. It's a little bit of like pat your head, rub your belly kind of movement. Now, as you bring your hands down, I want you to pick up that pillow, bring it in front of the chest, press up, continue lifting the heels, and then lower back down. And even though this pillow is probably like, if you actually put it on a scale, maybe just 1 or 2 pounds, the more that we do, okay, and even when we start to hold that pillow overhead, you'll probably be like, oh my gosh, is this pillow like 20 pounds? Who put some rocks in this pillow? Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. And so notice now that you're picking weight up overhead. It's going to be a lot more challenging to make sure that you can maintain that spine position, okay? Rather than arching the back out and getting that weight up overhead, can you make sure that your spine is staying as long as possible? 3 more here. Last 2. And then final 1. And then go ahead and place that, I almost called it a towel, your pillow down onto your lap. And let's reach underneath of your seat and bring left ear to left shoulder. And breathe. And then with your right hand, the one that's holding underneath of your chair, kind of slide it towards the back of your chair and turn your left chin down like you're trying to check your deodorant. So your left chin is down towards the left shoulder, and you're just kind of pulling yourself forward at a slight angle there. Okay, and then lift yourself back up. Let's take the left hand underneath of us. Okay, if it was under the chair, still great. But then right ear to right shoulder. So your right hand may start to like reach a little further down towards the ground. We want to make sure you're not yanking yourself over to the right side, but just a gentle, nice little pull through the neck. And then lift back up. Turn your chin towards the right shoulder and slide your left hand towards the back edge of your chair and lean slightly forward towards the right thigh. And so all that does is just help to get that back line on the left side of the neck. Okay, not completely on the side, not completely on the back, but that little Goldilocks space right between the two. Go ahead and lift yourself back up. And now from there, turn yourself to the left and then turn your gaze to the right. Like you're saying just a big slow motion no. Notice maybe which side feels a little tighter than the other. So the other benefits of mindful movement like Pilates, or if you take part in our yoga series on the other parts of the Mondays of the month, then you'll notice how much more aware of your body you become. Okay, now be very careful on this one as you gently nod the chin forward and then lift the chin up. And then as you're nodding forward, I want you to think just like a puppy dog or a kitten, like the nape of their neck. If you were to pick up the back of your neck, that's how I want you to drop the chin down. So you're not just dropping down and lifting up, okay? But you are lifting up as you drop the chin down. So you feel the back of the neck stretching. And now as your chin comes upward, I want you to give your jaw a little bit of an underbite so that you can like feel the stretch under the chin in front of the neck. And then pull the chin back down towards the neck and lift the nape of your neck up. And then jut this jaw forward, ooh, and look up. Let's do a couple more there. You got a huge underbite. Last one to look down, and last one to look up. Alrighty. So now let's place that pillow back between the legs. Okay, we'll work on some side bends and last little bit of rotations. So with your hands down by your side, we'll start with the left one staying down and your right arm has just come into a goalpost or like you're about to take an oath. Okay, so your left arm can either find the leg of your chair and slide down that or just reach down towards the ground. As you reach the right arm up and overhead, squeeze the pillow between the legs as you exhale. Then inhale, bring it back up. Let's exhale, reach up overhead, and then inhale back up. So if your hand is on the chair, use that as a sort of like crutch or like a kickstand to make sure that you're not going to completely fall off of your chair. So the more you press into that leg with your left hand, the more support and secure you may feel. Let's try 2 more there. Exhaling, trying to lift up and over through the right side, opening up the space between ribs and hips. Last and final one. Reach through the fingertips and then bring your right hand down. Your left arm takes the oath. And then you side bend as your right arm slides down the leg of your chair. And then you pull back up. Again, as we move from one side to the next, notice which side is maybe carrying more tension and which side is feeling like, ooh, this is like I could take a picture and it would be perfect right here. What is that called? Picture perfect. Okay, so make sure you've got that tension remaining between the legs, holding the hips and pelvis nice and stable on your chair, so that as you reach up and over 2 more times, it is literally just your upper body that is moving. Anything else from the hips and down are staying nice and squared up, stable. Awesome. Okay. So now with the arms out to the side, if your shoulders start to get tired, you just lower them down closer towards the ground. But let's try to start up. So thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down. Julius Caesar, thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down. Or you could think about pulling a can or rolling a can out and pouring out all the contents. Can up, can down. Okay. So now from there, what you're going to do is then keep the thumbs down, maybe the fingertips long, and start to push back behind you. Okay. So as you're pushing back behind you, you're going to start to feel that burn right between the shoulder blades. Let's try to make sure that the shoulders aren't up here and you still have a neck. Okay. So drop the shoulders down and continue pulling back. 3 more, 2 more. Last one. Go halfway. So palms down, fingertips long, and start to circle around for 6, forward or backwards. We're going to switch directions after this. 3, 2, 1. Go backwards. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower the hands down. Just rest them onto the lap or onto the pillow and give yourself some shoulder shrugs up, back, and down a couple times. And then forward, up, and back. Awesome. Alrighty. So now we get into a series where the pillow, where it's like we're going to hide it behind us. Okay. So that pillow is going to go right slightly tucked underneath of your bottom. Okay. This is a little hard to demo when my chair doesn't have a back, but then it will come up kind of behind your low back. Okay. So I won't have the pillow when I'm demoing this, but imagine that it is here in that position. So you're not quite leaning all the way up against it, but I want you to feel how that space between the back of your chair and your back of the body, there's that pillow there, okay? So with that pillow in place, it's called a hinge back. Your hands are onto the lap and you're going to hinge yourself back to where hips, heart, head all stay in line, and you feel that pillow squishing behind you, and then you lift back up. And then hinge yourself back and then pull yourself back up. Okay, so exhale, pull everything up and in, and then feel how all of that strength on the front of the body helps you to maintain the length on the back of the body. Okay, so there's a string that is pulling your hips and your head away from each other. As you exhale for 4 more, and then inhale upright. 3, 2, and now we're going to hold that hinge back on this last one. So then from there, start to reach the arms out in front of you. Let's do thumbs up, okay? And then holding that hinge back. So this is where if you wanted to like turn up the heat and add a little bit of spice, you take out that pillow, okay? So that you don't have something behind you. And you are just holding yourself there in thin air like I have demoed here, okay? So now as those arms are reaching up and down, try to exhale, inhale, 3 more, last 2, and then hold those arms lifted. If you need to take a break, take a break. You just come upright and then like kind of shrug out the shoulders or cat and cow through the spine. Then you're going to bend the elbows right to the face and then stretch back out again. Just like those people at the airport tarmac bringing the airplanes home. They're saying, come this way to park the plane, and then go away. And then come this way to park the plane. Okay, so as all this is happening, it might not look like anything is happening with the core, but the core is working to hold and maintain this position for 4 more. Arms stay bent in 3, 2, and then last one. Now what you're going to do is bring the hands behind the head, elbows wide. As you exhale, rotate to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale to the left, and inhale, center. We want to make sure that we're not yanking on the neck here. So push the head back into the hands to make sure that the elongation of the spine is staying strong from the core. Now we've got one more little layer. So I always say that there's one thing that onions and Pilates have in common. Actually, 2 things. So they have layers, and then sometimes they can also make you cry. I hope that this cry is like in a good way, okay? So now your next layer is that when you twist to one side, maybe you try to lift the opposite leg up, opposite knee, opposite elbow. You lower it down as you look forward, and then you exhale to cross the opposite elbow to the opposite knee. Keep and maintain your hinge back position, okay? But if you can't, you just come upright, and you still work on that lift of the knees and that rotation of the spine. Try 2 more each side, left and then right, and then last one each side, left and then right. Whew, and then come on up. You probably feel some heat now into the body. So now as your hands stay onto your knees, we cat to the spine, which means that you tuck the chin, you round the spine, and you give a big exhale out. And then you cow the spine, which means that you pull the heart forward, you lift the heart up, and you look up as the shoulders come down the back. And then you continue with the breath. Exhale, and then inhale, and then exhale, and then inhale. Awesome job, you guys. Okay. So now that pillow is still going to stay back behind us. We're still working in that hinge back position. Okay. So we do also have a different spine position that we can work through in Pilates. So if hinge back during that whole series was like, that's not for my body, then you have another option called C curve. So I'm giving you this option so now you can choose which feels best for your body. So that pillow is still kind of giving you that little bit of lumbar support. But now what I want you to do is imagine that somebody in front of you is trying to poke you in the belly. Okay, so you're trying to be like, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me, curling in and trying to like slightly like a tail is trying to come between your legs. Get that little bitty scoop. And all this is happening when the pelvic floor is lifting, that belly button is pulling in, the ribs will feel like they're kind of coming down towards the hips. And so you just created a nice C curve shape through the spine. Okay, so you can have that as your other option if this feels good in the back or in the body. Okay, so now as we go through this motion, I want you to find a position with your spine, either in that hinge back or that C curve. Okay, I'm going to still demo through hinge back, but now your hands come underneath of your chair. With the hands under the chair, I want you to extend one leg. Let's do the right leg first, out in front of you, and then bend it back in. We'll just start with the right leg first. Okay, so inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. And so if your pillow is kind of right behind that lumbar spine and your upper back is just barely touching the upper part of your chair, then try to like lift off a little bit so that you're not touching. Give yourself that challenge. And then you have that chair to lean back onto if you need to. Okay. Now switch to the left side, stretch out, bend in, stretch out, bend in. If you want a little bit more room to hinge back, you scooch your butt forward and press out, bend in. Okay. Now let's bring our attention back to the pelvic floor. Remember, that's your butthole. Lift it up inside of you, like pull it up inside of you. 2 more on that left side, and then the right side. Okay, and then stack the spine tall, hands onto the knees, cow and cat, or cat and cow. Move through the breath, or move with the breath. Alrighty. So now this next series here might be a little bit more challenging for those of us like I'm going to demo it without the back on my chair. So it's going to be very challenging. If you have a back on the chair, you will be leaning back against it. So your hands will be under the chair for that sense of support. Okay. So you're going to hinge yourself back and extend both legs out in front of you. And think about just swimming away, flutter kick, pulling everything up and in and trying to lift the head, squeeze the butt, squeeze the inner thighs like the pillow is between the thighs. And we're just kicking here for 5 more seconds. 4, nice job, you guys. 3, 2, and 1. Bring yourself back up, hands onto the thighs, cat and cow. So if that did not feel good, we're gonna do that one more round through, so 10 seconds more. If that didn't feel good with both legs lifted, then I want you to try 5 seconds of one leg kicking, then switch the other leg, kick. Okay? Otherwise, we're going to come back into that double leg flutter kick position. Okay? We want to make sure that the legs aren't just like wobbling around. We want to make sure we've got long lines of energy stretching out and we're moving from the hips. Okay? Moving from the center line of the body. Hands back underneath of you. Hinge yourself back or your C curve. Okay? Make sure you gather up all of that strength and energy up into the center line and the powerhouse. Stretch one leg out, maybe both legs, and then kick for 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Switch sides if you're only doing one leg. 3, 2, and 1. Bring yourself back up. And this time, instead of our cat and cows, I want you to gently place your right hand on the left leg and then twist yourself out. Try to look down, back behind you, to the left. Then inhale, stack the spine, left hand to right knee. Right hand maybe comes back behind you, and then rotate to the right side. And inhale up. And do that one more time each side. Exhale. Inhale, stack the spine tall, and then exhale. And then inhale, stack the spine tall. Nice job. Okay, so with those flutter kicks, now we'll have crisscross. So where the legs are crissing over each other, straight legs. So again, you have that option of just one leg doing that motion. So here's what it'll look like from the front view. So one leg out and it's crossing in or trying to cross the midline of the body. Or you can just think about squeezing the inner thighs together. If you're doing both legs here, we'll have 2 rounds to practice, but both legs are going to lift yourself up and we switch which leg comes on top. Okay. If crossing the legs is like, nope, too confusing, just bump the heels together. 10 seconds of each of those, okay? So working the strong line of the inner thighs, helping to pull up into that pelvic floor while we maintain the spine position, all right? So 10 seconds here. Go ahead and load the hands underneath of the chair. Hinge or C-curve yourself back. Gather up all of that strength and then 10 seconds to start for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Switch sides if you're doing one leg. 3, 2, and 1. Bring yourself back up. Take those rotations now. Leave one hand underneath of the chair. And maybe this time you can reach down a little lower towards the outside of your ankle. Lift back up, inhale, rotate to the other side. And then when you lift up, rotate one more time each way. So ideally what you want to feel is stretching from armpit to hip and all the way down into that space between rib and hip and that lower lumbar spine. And lifting up and then switching if you haven't already to the other side. So great job, you guys. Last set there of those crisscrosses or heel bumps or one leg, okay, coming in and out. So set yourself up, scooch towards the end of your chair, hands underneath of the chair, and then find that spine position that you can maintain. Pull everything up and in like you're gathering all the energy to hold it, but not the breath. So now from there, one leg out, other leg follows, and 10 seconds starts. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Sit up tall. Good. And now cat and cow, that last little bit there. In these cat and cows, it's like we're adding our rotation with your cat and cows. So then as you cat the spine, give yourself a little look to the right and then the left. And then as you cow the spine, look to the right and then the left. Cat, right, left, cow, right, left. Nice job on those, you guys. Okay. So now with the pillow coming up into the hands, okay? So the pillow will be in between the hands there. In between the hands. I want you to bring the heels together, okay? So if you look down at your feet, they've just created a little V, okay? So heels together, toes apart, so they look like that. And imagine you got a little $100 bill between them, okay? So don't drop the $100 bill. And as you are starting to lift and lower the heels, notice how like the outer parts of your calves may be starting to light up, okay? As well as a little bit of like outer booty. It's subtle at first, but you'll start to feel it after a little bit. Now that pillow between your hands, as you're lifting and lowering the heels, you start to lift the pillow up and then lower it back down. Lift it up and then lower it back down. Exhale overhead and then lower it back down. We'll just go for 5 more here. But on the fourth one, on the last one, so in 3, you're going to leave that pillow up overhead. Leave the heels high. 2 more. And then last one, pillow stays up overhead, heels stay lifted as well. Now let's check on those shoulders. Are they up by the ears like earmuffs, or can they drop down away? And you might have to soften the elbows a little bit, which is totally fine. And then let's also make sure that from the side view, it doesn't look like we're popping the ribs forward or sticking the butt out, but instead you've got that nice long position and posture through the spine, okay? Now from here, I want you to lower the pillow, but lift one knee to tap under it. Then lift the pillow, lower one leg. Lower the pillow, lift the opposite leg. So it's like we're marching in place here. Exhale as they come together. Inhale as you lift up and lower down. I know, and now the cues are starting to sound like oxymoronic. You lift the pillow, you lower the leg. You lower the pillow, you lift the leg. Lift and lower. Okay. So then here's your next layer. So if these layers are starting to get a little too complicated for you, you just stay right here at the layer that works for you. But if you'd like it to turn up the heat, add a little bit of spice. Whenever one leg comes up, I want you to twist towards that side. And then inhale, lower the leg, come back up with a pillow. Twist. And then come back up as you lower the leg. And you're trying to stay upright through the spine, okay? So I want to make sure if you need a little bit of a hinge to make room for those legs to come up, you work on that C-curve or hinge back position, okay? Otherwise, you're staying upright with control. One more to the left, and then final one to the right. And then place that pillow back down, this time resting the hands down onto the pillow, elbows tucked in towards the side, okay? So make sure, like if you had your cell phone under your armpit, don't drop it, okay? So now working on those tricep push-ups again, okay? So this time, as you press the arms long, you're kind of pushing into that pillow, just like we practiced at the beginning. Flatten and then lift off. Flatten, or at least release the pressure. Press and then release, okay? And then what you're gonna do is leave the arms long, okay? And then move the body forward so then the elbows bend. And then press your body upright so it's like a tricep push-up. Inhale, lower, and exhale, press. And because of this pillow, if it feels like, I don't like how my wrists feel with this, just put it off to the side, put your hands onto your thighs, and you'll have a little bit more stability underneath of you. But really try to squeeze those elbows in next to your side body, and don't let that cell phone drop away from you. Okay. Inhale, bend. Exhale, press. And feel how, as you're exhaling to press up, can you feel that corset muscle of your transverse abdominis wrapping around? Can you feel how when you lift up, the spine gets taller, obviously, from tailbone to top of the head, but can you think about growing a little taller? 3 more here. Last 2 more. And then final one. All right, so we're gonna put that pillow out of the way for a moment and come back to that position to where your legs are open wide again, okay? So once they're opened out wide, I want you to take your hands onto the thighs, but turn the thumbs in towards the inside hips and your fingertips down towards the ground, okay? So then, as you're going down, it's like a wide push-up. Press back up. Lower, inhale, and exhale, lift. Lower, inhale, and exhale, lift. Okay, so notice how we always move with the breath here. When it comes to movement of body to breath, we want to sync up of where it feels maybe easiest during the inhale and then hardest during the exhale. Sometimes if you're like, I don't know, it's all hard, try to think about expanding the body on the inhale. So in this case, we're trying to lengthen from tip of the tailbone to top of the head, and then exhale to come back up. Okay, and it might feel better to exhale down, inhale up. Let your body and your brain and your movements think about what feels natural for you. Now, hold yourself down, both arms bent, and I want you to press into just one of your hands. I'm going to press into my left hand so that then you rotate towards the right. And then bring yourself back into that bent left arm position, look down, and then rotate to the left as you straighten your right arm. Okay. Now you might start to feel how, you feel more triceps on one arm than the other, but you also might feel a stretch through one side of the body as we rotate from one side to the next. Okay. Just do one more to the right. Make sure you're nice and even on both sides. And when you come back through center, lift yourself back up. Good. Keep the feet wide though. So we want to try to work on that inner thigh stretch as well as that outer hip strengthening. So feel it in the outer glutes there, but then reach the arms out to the side. Okay. So we're working on some side bends here. So imagine you're at in front of a goal post and you're like, no ball is going to pass here. Okay. Arms are long and strong, and you're going to lower yourself down to either tap the arm onto your knee, or maybe the hand goes to the inside of the foot down to the ground. That depends on your body. You lift back up on your exhale, and then you inhale to either tap down onto the ground or to your leg, and then exhale, lift back up. Okay, so if it feels like, nope, that's too low, just stay right there. Arm to knee, lift back up. Arm to knee, lift back up. If arms out to the side feels like, nope, that's not it for today, Bri, what else you got for me? Hands behind the head so that the arms don't feel as long. Okay, if that feels like, nope, shoulders are still feeling it, don't like that, cross the arms across the chest. Okay, so you've got, like always, we've got plenty of options here, you guys. Okay, I like to start you guys off with the challenge first, and then we can bring it back, okay? So if you're like, okay, I'm good, I got to rest, open those arms back out again. 2 more each side. To the left. Good. Really try to reach through those fingertips if those arms are long. Last and final one to the right, and then the left. Awesome. Take the hands onto the knees. Maybe give them a little bit of a windshield wiper side to side. Just relax. Maybe shrug the shoulders out a couple of times. We're not quite done in this position. We got 1 more here. Okay. So, sorry, 2 more. So what we're going to do is rotation. So making sure that you've got enough room out to the side and behind you and as well as in front of you. You're going to inhale, sit tall, and then as you exhale, rotate like a sprinkler to the right. Then inhale, come back through center. Exhale, rotate to the left. And so try to be aware of, like, maybe if the knees are starting to move with you or the legs are starting to move with you, then you need to bring the hands behind the head, okay, or across the chest. Okay, if you're able to keep the legs still, great job. Okay, but you're still trying to pull those knees apart. Do you feel how the glutes are working here with you? Do you feel how the obliques, the side abs are working here with you? Exhale, and think just like a sprinkler, twist to one side, get all the grass on that side, and then twist towards center. Then to the other side, and then towards center. Let's do 1 more each way. And then bring your hands down by your side. You can either rest them in front or grab under the chair, or just rest them down behind your hips here. But as we're staying in this position, remember, pull the knees back, engage through the glutes, and now lift the heels. Lower and lift, lower and lift, lower and lift. So when the knees are pulled apart like this and you're getting that deeper stretch into the inner thighs, it starts to become more challenging to really be sure that you're connecting to the deep core, okay? So let's review again. Pelvic floor is lifting. Maybe you think about like a hard tube of toothpaste or sunscreen, and you've like squeezed too much out of you, okay? So now I want you to like pull it back up and inside of you, okay? And that's that sort of like lifting effect I want you to feel. Pulling everything around and in, okay? So that waistline is getting a little bit tighter away from the pants or your shirt on your body. And now we alternate. So now I want you to lift both heels, but then lower one down, lift back up, lower one down, lift back up. If it feels a little too challenging or like too uncomfortable at any point, always make sure that you're listening to your body. You can move the feet in a little closer together. Okay. If you're like, I don't know if I feel it on my glutes, just take the hands to the glutes and try to feel how the muscles are pulling the knees back. Okay. Now I want you to take it just a little faster. As one heel comes up, one heel goes down. Okay. So by strengthening these calf muscles, you're not just strengthening the calves, you're also strengthening the arches. So it helps with balance of the feet, helps us to stay connected to the ground. But as we get to that burnout position, but that burnout phase of this position here, I want you to go for just a couple more seconds. And then lower both feet down. Go ahead and heel toe the feet back together. And give me a couple of those cat and cows as you bow down and forward, as you lift up and away. Alrighty. Now from there, last little bit without the pillow. So we're going to think about like you're just making circles in the sand. So we'll start with the right leg first. So you're going to stretch the leg out away from you. And if it feels like the end of your chair is like cutting into the back of the leg, just scoot yourself forward so you have less of that happening. So your hands can either rest onto your left leg or underneath of the chair for support or stability. You slide the right leg away, open it out to the side, and then pull it back in. Okay, we'll do 6 in each direction. So you got 5 forward, out, then in. 4, out, in. 3 forward, out, and in. 2, out, in, and final 1, out, and in. So let's pause for a moment real quick, and I want you to check in with your body as we did that as like our sort of like dry run, because we still got 3 more of those same exercises that we're going to do. Did you notice if your body was sort of like compensating for the pattern there and kind of leaning away to reach that leg away from you? I want you to make sure that you're staying upright, because that's what's helping. The core is what's helping you to stay upright. You reach out, open, and then the body really wants to lean, but you're like, nope, I'm going to stay right here. So now let's try the opposite direction. You reach out and away, you slide it forward and bring it back in. Out and away, slide it forward and bring it back in. 3 more. 2 more. And try to notice if that left leg is doing anything weird. Sometimes it'll try to like move away and move back in. Last one, I want you to keep it still. Okay. So now that we know like the checklists to go through, or the check boxes to mark as we're moving through the other side, I want you to straighten the left leg out, move it out to the side. Ooh, this side's way harder for me at least. Okay. Ooh, and then pull it back in. Okay, so again, as we move from one side of the body to the next, you'll notice and you'll compare one side to the next. 3 more. Can you maintain that good, strong, long posture for your body today? 2 more. We're just getting a nice little clean floor in front of us, only in this weird circle pattern. Last 2. Maybe we should put Swippers under our feet. The final one. Okay, now we go out to the side, forward and back in. Focus on that right leg, staying still. Inhale to lengthen and exhale to pull. 2 more here. Woo-hoo. And last one. All right. So now from there, open and close those legs. Just give those hips a little bit more opening, stretchy feeling, and then closing. And so by moving all of the joints in the body, what we're allowing is more blood flow, more oxygen, more nutrients into the body. Okay. So what does that mean? That means more mobility, more flexibility, increased range of motion over time. You have to stay consistent with it though. If it was just a one and done, that'd be so great. We could all be lazy together. Okay. All right. So now let's take that pillow back between our legs. Okay. So it comes back between our legs here. And as you are holding it into that nice squeeze little pillow position, I want you to, it's not going to look like you're doing much, but I want you to squeeze your butt cheeks and then unsqueeze your butt cheeks. So you might notice, if you can see it in my video, like I'm kind of lifting up a little higher. So just a little squeeze and then lower, and a little squeeze and then lower. Okay. Now, while you're doing this, it's really common for most people to be like, ooh, lift and then lower. Okay. So try to keep everything else soft. Maybe even close the eyes as you're squeezing those butt cheeks and then softly lowering yourself down to the chair. Can you try to imagine that there's like something trying to like, ooh, poke you up into the butt. Okay. And then you're like, okay, it was a false alarm. Lift and squeeze. Okay, so the glute muscles are very important muscles for us to work through, because again, they're a part of the core. They might not be a part of the deep core, but they're a part of the segment of pieces of the body that connect middle, or the middle of our body, from lower to upper parts. Okay, so give me just a couple more of those squeezes there, and we'll add some rotation with those squeeze and lifts. Okay, so now I want you to hold that lift, hold the squeeze between the legs, and then like a genie, you're going to bring your arms out in front of you. Good. Then from there, lower it back down, so unsqueeze, but then as you exhale, squeeze, lift, twist to one side. Inhale, lower back down, unsqueeze. Exhale, squeeze, lift, twist. Whew, and then lower back down. And so you'll notice that it starts to feel pretty intense the slower you go. Okay, so don't rush it, never rush it. And this is coming into the concept, or the like training principles, called time under tension. And so if you can maintain a stronger, longer contraction of the muscles over a longer expanse of time, then that means the muscles not only have to work harder to hold that contraction, but then they also have to work harder to then release that contraction. So think about a bicep curl, for example, or a squat or a deadlift or a leg press is going to be much harder to do over a length of 10 seconds than just 1 second, okay? And we're working with body weight here. So time under tension starts to feel like really heavy over time, okay? Let's do one more to the right. Squeeze the booty, squeeze the legs, and rotate the rest of the body. And then to the left. Squeeze, 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 lift, and rotate. Whew, alrighty. So now last little bit before we start our cool down, that pillow is going to go right behind you. So you don't need to sit on it at this point, but just bring it right behind you. Okay, so now everyone is going to be working through C-curve. If you're like, C-curve does not feel good for my body, work on your hinge. Okay, put that off to the side so you can see the shape of the spine that we're looking for. So with the arms out in front of us, feet are planted heavy into the ground. I want you to C-curve your way back. Remember, your tailbone is trying to scoop forward towards your knees. Your belly button's pulling in. Ribs are kind of going down towards the hips. And now hold that position as you lift one arm up and lower down. Lift the other arm up and lower down. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. So now if it feels like you're ready for a little bit more spice, we turn up the heat and then sit up as you reach forward, round back as you lift up. Sit up, reach forward with the arms, round back, and then continue alternating. Okay, so all this is doing, the reason why it starts to feel like, ooh, a little bit more spicy when you lift that arm up is because you're lengthening the lever of the body. Okay, so instead of just like a head on top of the body, your arm lengthens that the whole spine. Imagine that you could lengthen the spine with that arm. Okay, now last one, hold that right arm lifted. Okay, you're holding your C curve now, and then open that arm out to the side and back overhead, out and up. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. 3 more. Inhale, exhale. Last 2. Keep the shoulder down away from the ear, and 1. Now switch the arms. You're still holding that C curve. Lower and lift that left arm up and down. And at this point, you're probably feeling how the obliques are working strongly to help and maintain this strong core position, as well as that deep pelvic floor lift. Last and final one. Come up to sit nice and tall. Hands come onto the knees, but now this time, instead of just catting the spine and kind of arching the back behind you, I want you to roll all the way down like you're trying to touch your toes. If you can touch your toes, great. And then keep that C-curve or cat spine position as you roll your spine back up. When you get to the knees, pull your heart forward and try to roll down and touch the toes. And then keep your heart forward as you lift back up. And when you touch the knees, round the spine and do that one more time each direction. Roll down, touch the toes, round up, touch the knees. When you touch the knees, pull the heart forward and reach for the toes, then lift back up and grab onto the knees. Alrighty, guys, nice job. We made it through our workout series. So from here, I want you to stretch it out and make sure that you are like giving your body the sense of rest and the sense of hydration that you need. So let's bring one of your ankles, in this case, this is my left ankle, onto my right thigh, into that little Piriformis stretch. So with your left hand, you can bring that onto the knee and kind of bring it forward a little bit more. If you feel any twinge in the knee, I want you to pull the toes up, okay, towards that shin. And as you're leaning forward into that stretch, you'll feel that glute on that left side opening up, okay? And then you're gonna lift up, and that same leg is gonna go out to the left side just a little bit. Your hands come to the right leg, and then I want you to just lean forward kind of between both of your legs, and you'll start to feel how that back of the hamstring on the left side is opening up. You might even feel a little bit on the right lower back opening up as well. And then lift yourself back up. You're going to keep your left hand there onto the knee, but then reach your right arm up and overhead. If it feels like you're going to fall out of your chair, just don't reach as far. Or you can even bring your elbow onto the outside, not your elbow, sorry, your forearm onto the outside of your right knee as a kind of like stopping point, okay, to pull yourself back up on your inhale. Nice job. And then we'll switch and do it all again on the other side. So right ankle, left thigh. You can either kind of like anchor statue and push your elbow into your knee or push your hand into that knee. Breathe into that space where you feel the stretch. So I want you to imagine that the breath, when you breathe it in, it goes right to that space in the hip where you feel it opening up. And then as you exhale, you pull that tension and let it go. Then lift yourself up. Take that left leg out, or sorry, right leg out to the right side. Hands onto the left leg, and you're kind of leaning right between the legs. And noticing where you feel the stretch, either down the leg or down the back, or maybe both. Lift back up, take your right hand onto the thigh, your left arm over towards the right side of the body, and just open up that whole left side from hip to rib. And then reach yourself back up again. Nice job. Alrighty, guys. So that concludes our time for class today. Give yourself a round of applause. And remember that, like, if you love this class, it's going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel, the MS Views and News, MSVN, on YouTube. So please make sure that you're checking that out. We also have all of the previous classes that we've uploaded to class as well, or to YouTube as well. So it was so good seeing all of you guys again that I've seen before in the past. So good seeing all these new faces. Welcome, welcome. Otherwise, like, I look forward to seeing you guys again next month. This is a monthly series that we do every Monday. So check back when you receive those emails when the next one will be. Looking forward to seeing you guys again. Until next time.